Chapter 2, Part 2. It was around this time that Janak Baba sent for me, just a few months after I nearly lost my life in the river. Janak Baba has come to see me about you, Aditi told me one evening. About me? I asked in surprise. She nodded. He asked me to tell you that your tapasya is now over. My tapasya? I looked at her in confusion. I knew in general sense what tapasya was, the long difficult meditation practice that the sages engaged in to bring in certain beneficial results for themselves and for the world. Our Maharaja engaged in tapasya for the sake of the kingdom, but I, a poor servant, had no notion of these matters. I had not engaged in any meditation practice. I knew nothing of this. She nodded again. You have undergone much hardship, Meenakshi, since your father's death, and even I can see how this has benefited you. He asked that you now be assigned to serve the Maharani. It will be for a brief period, and then you will be given another assignment. I don't understand, I murmured. You know that I am perfectly content as I am. I haven't sought anything more. In truth, I was fearful of moving into a position with more direct access to the Maharaja and Maharani. I was far more comfortable serving out of the sight than within the purview of the whole household. Do you not trust his wisdom, my dear? When I didn't answer, she continued, do you remember after your father had the accident? You asked me whether Janak Baba had come to bless him. I nodded. I was not in the room, but one of the other servants was. He recently told me of those last moments. He relayed to me that, as your father lay dying, the Maharaja expressed gratitude for his many years of service and said he would fulfill any last request. I want you to know his dying wish. Your father folded his hands with all of the life left in him, beseeched Janak Baba to look after you, to guard you from any misfortune, and if he saw fit, to find appropriate service for you beyond what you were performing. The Maharaja nodded and made that commitment. She is a good servant and a good daughter, and perhaps I have been too harsh on her, your father said. She was the blessing that came to me in the midst of all my misfortunes, and I owe that to your care for my family for so many generations. Why did nobody tell me this sooner? I asked, my eyes tearing. If I had known. What would you have done differently? Aditi asked. I don't know, I murmured. Forget the past, Meenakshi. Think of your future. Janak Baba has called for you, and you cannot refuse him. So that is why he saved me from the river that day, I thought. I was deeply moved to think he would remember that commitment to my father of so many years ago. But that was the nature of our Janak Baba. His word was ironclad. Never would he retreat from a commitment, and his patience was unlimited. His tapasya had taught him to know the right time for every action. Aditi continued. I never doubted that when Janak Baba felt the time was right, he would intervene. He would call you at the appropriate moment. Now is that time, Meenakshi. I am less active in the household, and someone like you is very much needed. Someone who carries the dedication that has been passed down through the generations from your great great grandfather and on to your father, and now to you. You have this responsibility. I nodded my consent. Please convey to Janak Baba how grateful I am, not just for his consideration of me, but for fulfilling the last wishes of my father. That means a great deal to me, and I will do my utmost to follow in his footsteps. After Aditi left, I could not help but wonder if my recent change of heart had something to do with the turn of events. Did Janak Baba know the shift that had taken place in my attitude over the last few months? And was it Janak Baba's blessing that had changed me, that had turned my resistance and self pity into a sense of gratitude, that made me eager for the opportunity to perform the least desirable task, that enabled me to finally see the dignity of my father's life and the truth of what he had been trying to teach me throughout my childhood. Dignity was a quality much valued in our kingdom. Although our lives in the kingdom of Videha were simple, our needs and wants few, we saw this simplicity as a form of dignity because of the respect we accorded all of the natural world and of the people in our kingdom. Nobody took too much, lest others go without, and this we would not tolerate. Every child who lost a parent was cared for. Every aged person was honored. There was little breaking of the trust between people. Everyone was accorded the same respect and honor and care. Janak Baba understood that for a society to be in harmony, everyone, everyone had to be looked after without exception. I suspect that is why my family was taken in after misfortune befell us. Everyone in our society understood the rhythms of nature and lived in accordance with the natural cycles. To us, its laws were sacred and the key to our prosperity, and our prosperity lay not only in the abundant resources of nature but also in the wisdom that flowed from our Maharaja, which guided every aspect of our lives. From him, we had learned that as long as we upheld the natural laws, our needs would be provided from one way or another. He taught and taught that it was because of this that Maharaja Dashratha had come to our aid when we most needed it. Difficult times were there to teach us certain lessons, he said, but we had to remain true to our principles and beliefs. There was no thought to take more from nature that was needed, for we were also conscious of the needs of the animal and plant kingdoms. In earlier days, most of our food had come from the abundant forest and valleys, which had been overflowing with so many varieties of fruits, nuts, roots, and wild grains. But as we grew in numbers and encroached upon the forest, these foods diminished, and so the Janak family led us in the cultivation of crops. But we had not forgotten how the forest once served all of the needs of our ancestors, and so a deep gratitude remained embedded in our minds and spirits. Gratitude, respect, and love for all life. This was the essence of the dignity our Janak Baba taught us. Our gratitude was also for the earth, for her soil, which provided more and more of our food. We honored her, respected her, and were grateful. And this feeling became even stronger when we learned that the earth goddess has given us a daughter. She had given the people of Videha one could not only protect our kingdom but also help restore balance to the whole of the natural world. The long withholdings of rain had alerted us to the fact that even if we abide by the laws of the natural world and gave our gratitude, there were others on earth who might behave differently, and all would suffer from their ill acts. Thus, we became more and more aware that there were forces at play that we could not comprehend. But we trusted that our wise Maharaja knew how to counter these forces and was busy doing so. When we saw the rains return after these years of tapasya and pujas, after his extreme patience and persistence, we were more convinced than ever that the powers of our Maharaja extended far beyond the material realm. So when he brought home his daughter, we viewed her as he did, a gift, a gift from the gods, indeed, as the great Shakti herself. While the village people said she was born of the earth, there was whispering throughout the household that she was self-manifesting one, the great Devi of whom the sages spoke. She took physical form through her own will. Janak Baba did not dissuade this talk, but he allowed the villagers to proclaim that she was the daughter of Vasundhara Devi, the earth goddess, and so she was named Sita, which means furrow of the earth. सीताराम 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 कहिए जाहि